Hey, welcome back to another Watch Me video where you get to look over my shoulder as I take a real live deal in Park Forest, Illinois from start to finish. And on this part 2 video, I want to give you an update on the progress on this deal coming up.
For a limited time, you can get a free copy of Jerry Norton's Quick Start Kit with everything you need to flip your first house in 30 days or less. Download it now at myquickstartkit.com.
Hey, if you're new here, I'm Jerry Norton with FlippingMastery.com, and this channel is all about ways to help you make money flipping real estate so you can live your dream life. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss new videos. Now, this is an on-market deal in Park Forest, Illinois, and I'm attempting to wholesale this deal remotely from Arizona. Now, in video 1, I explained how I found the deal, analyzed it, and then secured the contract. And if you've been watching any of my Watch Me Look Over My Shoulder videos or any other videos where I explain my strategic process for acquiring deals to wholesale or fix and flip, you'll know that I do 5 very specific things. 1, once I find a lead, I like to do very little due diligence initially. So I ballpark my numbers and I get to a high level offer price and then I make the offer. Number 2, I like to first get an executed contract with the seller as quickly as I can. 3, I always get a window of time for due diligence in my contract, usually 10 days. 4, and then during the 10 days, I spend all of the necessary time, energy, and effort to verify and validate my numbers and make sure I in fact have a good deal. And if the deal's looking good, I also try to find my cash buyer during those 10 days. And then 5, if during the 10-day due diligence I discover anything that would change the price I need to pay, I would try and renegotiate my contract with the seller. On part 1 of this video series, this is exactly what I did. This lead is on market, meaning it's listed for sale with a real estate agent. We found the lead using my Data Cruncher software tool. For the analysis, we spent a few minutes and we looked up sold comps in the neighborhood and we determined the after repair value, or what it will sell for once it's fixed up. And that number came to $127,000. And if you watched part 1, I showed you exactly how I did the comps and I calculated the ARV. The rehab number was even more rudimentary because there was only 1 picture posted on the listing. So after asking some questions to the agent about the condition and making some assumptions on what repairs would typically cost for a house like this, and came up with a fix and flip buy price of $64,000. Now that's what a fix and flipper would pay, but we want to wholesale the deal, so we put a $16,000 wholesale fee on the deal, which means we needed to get the deal for $50,000. And then on part 1, I showed me on the phone with the listing agent making that offer. Now after going back and forth a bit, we ended up getting the contract for $50,000 with a 10-day inspection contingency. Now, a lot of questions come up about the technique of getting a contract on a property I've never seen before, so let me just take a minute and elaborate and give some more detail and some more clarification. The most time-consuming aspect of acquisitions is deal analysis. This includes everything from running comps, meeting sellers, looking at properties, estimating repairs, and running the numbers. All of that is important, but I only want to do that when it's a good use of time. If I spend too much time doing analysis before having a contract, it will chew up a lot of time and it will limit the amount of offers I can make, which in the long run will reduce the number of deals I'm able to do. Instead, I try to get to a contract as fast as I can with a 10-day inspection, and then and only after securing the contract do I spend all of the necessary time doing further due diligence. So for example, let's say that you reach out to a private seller lead and you have a conversation on the phone, and following my motivated seller script, you discover that they are in fact interested in selling their property. By the way, I did a video where I break down the perfect motivated seller script, including exactly what to say and how to say it. I'll put a link to that video in the description box below, and you can watch it later. But let's say that the seller is interested in selling. What most wholesalers and flippers do is once they identify an interested seller, is they schedule an appointment to meet the seller and look at the property. And there's nothing wrong with that. That seems logical, right? But there's a chance that you'll spend a lot of time just to make an offer and then the seller rejects your offer. So instead, I'll make a ballpark offer right over the phone and I'll pre-close the seller before meeting at the property. Here's what it would sound like. Hey, Mr. Seller, I don't want to waste your time or mine. Before I come out and take a look at your property and meet with you, based on the neighborhood and the condition of the home as you've described it, I'm going to need to be in the ballpark of $125,000, or whatever the number is. Then be quiet and see how they respond. If the seller responds favorably or seems open to that number, great, take the time to meet him, because why? Now it's a good use of time. If he responds negatively and is against that number, aren't you glad you didn't waste time on appointment? If that were to happen, instead put him in your weekly follow-up. Here's the takeaway. Spend the least amount of time possible until you have a written contract. Okay, so let's go back to our deal in Park Forest, Illinois. So we left off on part 1 video where we had just secured the contract for $50,000 with a 10-day inspection. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend you watch it first and then come back to watch this video. And I'll put the link to that video in the description below. It's like a 20-minute video, but I really dive deep into everything that I just summarized, so you'll get a lot out of it. On this part 2 video, I want to focus entirely on what transpired after getting the contract and during my 10-day due diligence. What we discovered and how that discovery changed the numbers, and then how we handled that. So once we secured the contract in writing, the very first most critical thing that I needed to verify during my 10-day inspection was the rehab number. Remember, I ballparked a $25,000 rehab budget based on one picture and not having seen the property. Now keep in mind, this is very important. I postured this correctly with the agent initially. I basically said to him on the phone, hey, I haven't seen this property yet, so during the 10 days, I need to get over there and I need to make sure and double check the rehab number. And this is important because I don't want it to be a big surprise if I come back and renegotiate, which you'll see, so keep watching. So the very first thing I did during the 10 days was I got someone to go over there to take pictures and do video for me. Now on this particular deal, I'm partnering with one of my elite mentoring students who lives in that market, so she went and did it. However, what I typically will do is hire a freelance photographer from Craigslist to go take detailed pictures and video. And then they'll upload it to a cloud service like Dropbox or Google Drive and then send me the link. Now I usually pay $25 to $50 for someone to go do this for me, and I even do that if the deal is local to me because it's worth the $50 for me not to do it. So as soon as I got the link to the pictures and video, it became apparent to me that the rehab was not $25,000, but more like $40,000. The agent made it out to be carpet and paint and kitchen and bath, but it was much more than that. It needs a new furnace and it needs a new air conditioning. It has a bunch of old wood paneling in the lower level that's gonna need new drywall. It needs doors and trim, and it's just a lot worse condition than the agent made it sound like initially, which is also probably why he didn't post any pictures on the listing. So with the new rehab budget, going back to the deal analyzer in FLIPSTER, I updated the rehab budget from $25,000 to $40,000, and it automatically readjusts all the numbers and recalculates the new fix and flip buy price to approximately $49,000. Now that's what our cash buyer flipper would pay. So what now? I have a contract for $50,000, but new information during my due diligence is that a cash buyer flipper would only pay $49,000. Well, we need to renegotiate, so we went back to the agent and basically said the following. During our inspection, it came to our attention that the repairs to bring this property to current market standards are higher than our original estimated budget. Therefore, we are requesting a price reduction from $50,000 to $35,000. Now, why $35,000? Because at $35,000, I could wholesale this deal to a cash buyer for $49,000 and make a $14,000 wholesale fee. So the agent went to the seller and the seller said no to our reduced price of $35,000. So we exercised our due diligence contingency and terminated the contract and got our $500 earnest money deposit back. And interestingly, I noticed that right away the agent put the listing back on market, but reduced the listing price from $59,000 to $55,000. Now don't think this deal is dead, far from it. First of all, we reset the seller's mindset about this property. Even though they're not yet motivated to take our offer at $35,000, they are more motivated than they were before. How do I know that? Because they immediately put the property back up for sale, but reduced the price from $59,000 to $55,000. So it's been a few days now. Let's do a call and you can watch me live, talk to the agent again, and keep this deal in play. By following up with the agent, I want to accomplish two things. Number one, I want to see if the agent will give us any further insight into the seller's motivation. And two, I want to make sure the agent is aware that we're going to follow up weekly, and if anything changes on his end, to call us. And this is where follow-up is critical in this business. We want to make sure that we are first in line when the seller is finally ready to sell. So let's cut to that call now. Hey, I just thought I'd check in and see what the status was on Barry, and then I see that it's back on market with a price reduction at 50 or 55. I mean.
Yeah, that's 55. Yeah.
Okay, so can you give me a little insight?
Another week or so, at that price point, we'll probably go down to 50. But
so this is what we'd like to do. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll just check back with you on every week or so, and just see where it's at. If the seller, if they doesn't get any bites, then we'll revisit our conversation at some point. If it doesn't sell, he'll probably be looking at a little lower, which is we just want to be ready and in line when they are ready. So if that day comes where they don't get a better offer, we'd like to be first in line. If you could give us a call and say, hey, they're ready to talk. Let's talk again. If you could just give us a call, let us know, and we'll be ready.
yeah, sounds good. No problem at all.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Joe. We'll be in touch. So now we're going to put this deal on a weekly follow-up schedule, and as long as the property is still for sale, we're going to call this agent every single week to check in and stay in front of the seller. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Now, I've gotten deals months later simply by following up consistently. And just for fun to illustrate how critical follow-up is, check out these stats by the National Sales Executive Association. 48% of salespeople never follow up. 25% make a second contact and then stop. 12% only make 3 contacts and stop. Only 10% make more than 3 contacts. But then check this out, only 2% of sales are made on the first contact, 3% of sales are made on the second contact, 5% of sales are made on the third contact, 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact, and 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. I think you get the point. No never means no. No just means not right now. The policy is as long as the property hasn't sold, keep following up and you'll close more deals. Now hopefully that's the case on this deal, but one thing is for sure. This is just one lead out of hundreds that we work on a monthly basis. Am I discouraged this deal didn't work out so far? No, why? Because I understand the game and I know that it's just a numbers game. The more leads I produce, the more offers I make, the more deals I'll do. But I do know this, I'm sure glad I didn't invest hours and hours on this one lead. Remember, the key to managing all of the steps to wholesaling and flipping houses is having a really good management system that will organize and automate and streamline all of the steps, and the best tool on the market is hands down FLIPSTER. FLIPSTER is a cloud-based deal management system that has everything you need to consistently find and wholesale or flip deals for big profits. To check it out and see it in action, just go to getflipster.com. And hey, thanks for joining me on this video. I sure hope you learned something. If you did, show some love, hit that like button right now, and leave a comment, share with me your biggest takeaway from this video. I'd love to hear from you, and if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm dedicated to helping you make more money in less time flipping houses so you can live your dream life. And remember, it's not about the money, it's about having the time and freedom to have, be, do, and give everything that really matters in life. That's what it's all about, and I'll see you on the next video.